we looked at the pillars of democracy, and I remember giving you an assignment on the different party systems we have in Nigeria, and think of the one that Nigeria should adopt. Unfortunately, I didn't see many of you doing that assignment. I don't know why. Why didn't you all do the assignment?
Yes.
Obina.
Yes, sir.
You didn't do the assignment. Why? Obina.
Yes, sir.
I said, why didn't you do the assignment?
So I forgot, sir.
You forgot.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm recording everything. I will start deducting your points from now.
Okay.
All right, once again, you are welcome. Today, we'll be looking at another topic which I believe you can see on the screen: capitalist democracy. Please on your videos. On your videos. Only mute yourself and on your videos. Okay, this morning, like I said, we are looking at capitalist democracy. We have said, like 2 weeks ago, that democracy is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. That is to say, anytime democracy is mentioned, you cannot take out the place of the people, because it is a government whereby it is the people that determines what happens, whether it is who occupies an office, the tenure of that particular person, and also everything that regards politics or people of the country. So it is important. That is, democracy is important because it is the people that determines it. So this morning, we will be looking at capitalist democracy. Capitalism or capitalist democracy is a form of government in which the powers, the powers of government flows from the citizens to the political leaders, and the running of the government is based on the consent of the electorate. Capitalist democracy is a form of government in which the powers of government flows from the citizens to the political leaders. That is capitalist democracy. That is, whatever power that the government would hold at different levels, whether at federal, at state, or at local government, it does not flow from the government to the people, but it is from the people to the government. That is, it flows from the citizens to the political leaders. And also, the running of the government is based on the consent of the electorate. No political leader, no political office holder can hold any office without the electorate. It is the electorate that determines who occupies an office and also the tenure of that particular office holder. Of course, you know, talking about the different systems of government we have in the world today, we have the socialism and the capitalism. The capitalism is what we are looking at this morning. So it is a flow of power from the citizens to the government. It can also be seen as a political and economic practice where the means of production, distribution, and acquisition of wealth and productive forces are controlled by the well-to-do individuals. That is a capitalist kind of government or democracy. So it could be seen as a political and economic practice where the means of production is in the hands of individual. Also, the productive forces is in the hands of various individuals and not government. In these terms, in this type of democracy, also, individuals are fully permitted to contest and own the means of production. That is, you can't bid for a means of production, that is owning an organization, owning an enterprise. When you contest and your bid, you are able to win your bid, then you can have that part or means of production. Also, talking about the capitalist democracy, the economy of capitalist democracy is based on the principle of free enterprise of the people. The economy is based on the principle of free enterprise of the people, for the people, and by the people. That is to say, the people are allowed the freedom to choose the type of government and governance they prefer. So just like we said earlier, the economy is based in the hand of the people. That was why when I was starting this class, I told you that democracy is the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. And because this is the principle of democracy, whatever it is that happens is in the hands of the people. So they have the freedom to choose the type of government and the kind of governance that they prefer. Any question before we move on? Any question? Hello? Any question? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Sir?
I said, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's also move further. Capitalism or capitalist democracy is also a model of democracy that is practiced in Western Europe by Great Britain, United States of America, Japan, Germany, and also over 2/3 of the countries of the world, including Nigeria, practice this kind of democracy. Very, very important. So it is a model that is almost generally accepted all over the world. Imagine if 2/3 of the countries of the world are capitalist. So you understand the kind of democracy they practice is a capitalism kind of democracy. So you agree with me that it is a policy or model that is generally accepted all over the world. All right. What are the characteristics of a capitalist democracy? Characteristics of a capitalist democracy. Number one, there is popular sovereignty. There is popular sovereignty. This means that basic governmental decision or the decision-making power is rested in all members of the community and not in any particular person or ruling class. Under the capitalist democracy, the decision, the power is rested in the hands of the community. It is not a decision that is taken by one person, but it is a decision that is taken by the general public or the general community. So it is a basic government decision power, making power, which rests on the members of the community. So that is one basic feature of capitalist democracy. The decision-making power is in the hands of the community and not in the hand of any individual. So that is one. Number two, political equality. Political equality. Every member of the community in a capitalist democracy has equal opportunity in the nation's political decision-making process. That is, talking about the principle of one man, one vote. That is, every adult, every individual in a country who is 18 years and above has a right to decide whoever would be in a place in a political system. That is a capitalist democracy. Every member of the community has equal opportunity in making any decision. That is, one man, one vote. You have the right to choose whoever you want to choose for any particular office in any political system. That is number two. Number three, majority rule. Number three, majority rule is another characteristic of capitalist democracy. In this type of rule, the government is not allowed to take decision against the desire of the majority. The government does not have the power to take any decision against the desire of the majority. If the majority says this thing is not okay, the government doesn't have any choice than to go with what the majority says. And this also implies that political decision requires choices among possible alternatives. That is, one person cannot just sit down and take a decision. Different alternatives are looked into. And the moment these different alternatives are looked into, the public is taken into cognition. And it also ensures that it is what is good for the public that takes the final say. So majority rule is one major characteristic of capitalist democracy. That is, it is the majority that determines what happens. Public decision making must be well informed. It must be fully discussed and without government interference. In taking any public decision, the public must also be well informed. Not only informed, the decision must be fully discussed and it must not have government interference. So that is one characteristic of capitalist democracy. Another characteristic is popular consultation. Popular consultation. Under this, This implies that officials of government should seek and get what public policies the people would like to be adopted and also enforced. Under the capitalist democracy, the public is consulted. The public is, you sort out after their opinions and get what their opinion is before a decision is adopted, not only adopted, before it is enforced. Because it is the people that would be the one that will either benefit from the policy or would not benefit. So if it is the people that will be the beneficiary in the long run, then they must be consulted before final decisions are taken. That's another characteristics of capitalist democracy. Periodic election is another characteristics. Elections are expected to be periodically held and made open, free, and fair. Under a capitalist democracy, elections are supposed to be periodically held. Of course, you know, in Nigeria today, the constitution stated or states that elections into any office is expected to be conducted every 4 years. It is after every 4 years that another election can be taken for either another tenure in office. So there must be a periodic elections, and it must be open, free, and fair. Also, elections must comply with the rule of universal adult suffrage and must be open to all qualified adults. Not only that, it must be monitored by people and the international community. That is why when we are conducting elections in Nigeria, we usually have both local and foreign observers. That is one feature of elections. There must be people who would observe the election, whether within Nigeria or outside of this country. So there must be periodic election. That is another characteristics of capitalist democracy. Respect for the rule of law. Respect for the rule of law. This means that everybody in the state must be equal before the law of the land. That is a characteristic. The law under democracy is above everyone. Everyone is equal before the law. Also, all recognized human rights must be put down in the Constitution and must be respected by the Constitution and must be respected by the people and the government. It must be put down in the Constitution, must be respected by the Constitution, and also respected by the people of the government, the rule of law. Independent and impartial judiciary. That is another characteristics of capitalist democracy. Independent and impartial judiciary. Talking about independent and impartial judiciary, an independent and impartial judiciary, that is, to adjudicate in electoral disputes, is an essential characteristics of a capitalist democracy. That is, we must have lawyers and judges who are impartial, who are independent in determining any disputes in an election. Also, judges who serve in this body are expected to be fearless, and they are made to enjoy necessary freedom from government control or punishment in the course of discharging their constitutional duties. That is, the judges must be allowed, must be independent, must be given the necessary freedom to discharge their duties without any control or punishment from government in the course of ensuring that justice prevails in the land. Decentralization of power is another characteristic of capitalist democracy. Decentralization of power. It is important that the powers of the state must be separated and not concentrated in the hands of individuals or groups. That is, the powers of the government must be separated. That is why we have different arms of government. We also have different tiers of government. Under the arms of government, you have the federal, you have the judiciary, you have the legislature, and you also have the executive. While under the tiers of government, you have the federal, the state, and the local government. In having all this decentralization of power, it will prevent the emergence of dictatorial and despotic leaders. When we have separation of power or decentralization of power, it will not give rise to a dictatorial and despotic leaders. In the same way, decentralization of power will give rise to the principles of checks and balances, which must be adopted and used in the system. It must be adopted and used in the system. When we have the powers not concentrating in the hands of one individual, it ensures that different arms or organs of government knows their powers and they do according to what their power dictates. So all these are the characteristics of capitalist democracy. All these are the characteristics of capitalist democracy. Any question before we move on? Any question? Derek, Timothy, Obina.
Sir, no question.
Okay. Advantages of capitalist democracy. Having seen the characteristics, let's look at the advantages. Now that we have said it is a model that is being used all over the world, what are the advantages? Number one, capitalist democracy thrives on the doctrine of fundamental human rights, expressed through individual, corporate, and state autonomy and freedom. With capitalist democracy, your fundamental human rights as an individual is guaranteed. Your rights will not be trampled upon. Of course, you know, when your right is even trampled upon, the court is there to fight for one. So under the capitalist democracy, your fundamental human right is guaranteed. It's guaranteed. Number two advantage of capitalist democracy, it enhances faster economic development. It enhances faster economic development. I just said earlier that we have different arms of government, different tiers of government. Now, because the powers is not in the hands of an individual, the economy would grow rapidly. Why? Because each aspect of the government will carry out its functions as expected. And if every arm of government or every tier of government is carrying out their functions as expected, of course, you can know that the economy would grow faster. So one advantage is that it enhances a faster economic development. It enhances a faster economic development. Number three, sorry, it promotes good governance. Capitalist democracy promotes good governance, quality policy making in provision, and also distribution of public amenities due to less government interference in the economic development process. Capitalist democracy promotes good governance, quality policy making, distribution of public amenities. Now, because one individual or only one government is not carrying out all the duties of government, it will ensure that there is good governance. Also, basic social amenities for the people is also provided. Why? Because each level has its own function. That is why we have in Nigeria today, you have roads like the Trunk A roads, you have the Trunk B road, you have the Trunk C road. For the Trunk A road, they are roads that are managed and handled by the federal government. The Trunk B road are the ones handled by the state government, while the Trunk C are the roads managed by the local government. Now, when all these level of government are doing what is expected of them, it guarantees it guarantees good governance and quality decision making, and also the provision of basic public amenities for the community. That's another advantage. That is another advantage. Also, capitalist democracy enables people to have opportunity to make economic and political choices. Because the power to make and unmake is in the hands of the people, you can make some quality decisions. It enables people to make economic and political decisions. For example, in electing someone into a political office, as an adult, you have the right to vote for whoever you want to vote for. That is another advantage. Furthermore, capitalist democracy encourages development at the level and pace of one's potential and capabilities. That is, things are done at each level and at their pace, and of course, based on their capabilities. So capitalist democracy encourages development at different levels, at their pace and also at their capabilities. Also, capitalist democracy encourages specialization in skills and quality productivity. It encourages specialization in skills and quality productivity. Finally, capitalist democracy creates room for effective utilization of abundant talent and resources. Of course, we know in this country, we have both natural and human resources. Now, when we have natural and human resources, and with capitalist democracy in place, hello? Okay, I said the system creates room for effective utilization of abundant talent and resources. So if we have both natural and human resources in the country, then you should know that there are people who will be able to properly manage all these resources effectively to the benefit of the general public. So that is what capitalist democracy can do. All these are the advantages. Now, as good as capitalist democracy may sound, it also has its disadvantages. It has its disadvantages. And that is what we want to look at now. What are the disadvantages of the capitalist democracy? Number one, it breeds selfish, greedy, and exploitative few at the detriment of the majority. What this means is that under this kind of democracy, the minority are exploited. The minority are not allowed to get what is expected. So it breeds selfish, greedy, and exploitative few at the detriment of the majority. So what this means is that the minority are not allowed to enjoy the benefits of the country as expected. Also, under this point, there are times that even the majority are exploited because the few that may even have the resources may want to keep it to themselves. As it were, the capitalist democracy is supposed to be a model whereby everyone will benefit. But sometimes it is only in the hands of few individuals. So if that is the case, then it has become a disadvantage. Number two, it has given rise to exploitation of the poor and the less privileged in the society. The poor, the less privileged in the society are exploited. They are exploited. And if they are exploited, it is a disadvantage against capitalist democracy. It is a disadvantage against capitalist democracy. Also, another disadvantage is that it encourages unhealthy competition. It encourages unhealthy competition and rivalry. It encourages unhealthy competition and rivalry because there will be competition, especially if the resource is few and the people having interest in that resource are so many. So just for example, employment in Nigeria. Employment in Nigeria, we know, is not evenly distributed. The employment is in the hands of the few, and very many are in the society who are unemployed. So capitalist democracy in this sense is a disadvantage. Also, it leads to selective employment. Just like I said, selective employment, unemployment, and cheap labor, since capitalists are not under any legislative control. That is, whereby you have capitalists, that is, individuals that have this money or this resource when the resource is in their hands. It leads to selective employment, it leads to unemployment, and it also leads to cheap labor. It leads to cheap labor. That is why you see some people are saying they are working and they are not getting commensurate compared to what they are putting in. So that is unemployment and cheap labor. Also, it encourages inordinate crave for wealth. Capitalist democracy encourages inordinate crave for wealth. That is, everybody, whatever the means, wants to get rich, irrespective of what they will do in order to have this wealth. They just want to be rich at all costs. Okay. Another disadvantage is that it encourages inequitable distribution of the income and wealth. Under the capitalist democracy, the wealth of the country is not evenly distributed. It's not evenly distributed. So if this is the case, it has become a disadvantage. If you go to the southern part of this country where the oil is being mined, it's so sad to see that in some of those places, they don't even have farmland. They don't have farmland because of oil spillage. The aquatic life is destroyed. So all these are wealth that are supposed to come to them, but it is not evenly distributed. So this is a disadvantage to capitalist democracy. Also, it encourages inhuman treatment and injustice against fellow men. It encourages inhuman treatment and injustice against fellow men. Capitalists' major concern is profiting with less concern for life. Capitalists' major concern is profit with less concern for life. That is, in a private organization, the major concern is profit and less concern for life. Also, it promotes oligarchic form of government to enable them to make policy that will protect the interest of the rich and also the bourgeois. That is, the kind of policy they give is the ones that will benefit only the wealthy people, the rich class. Those are the policies that they give because they are out to make profit. They are out to make profit. So all these are the disadvantages of the capitalist democracy. They are disadvantages of the capitalist democracy. Now, having said that, we have come to the end of the class, but before we conclude, I would like to ask these questions, and I want responses. What is capitalist democracy? What is capitalist democracy? Yes? Dorothy. What is capitalist democracy? Dorothy.
Sir.
Yes? What is capitalist democracy? I'm listening.
I don't really know.
Well, you started the class.
No, sir, I came a little bit late.
You said?
I came a little bit late.
Okay. Esther.
Sir.
What is capitalist democracy?
Sir, it is a form of government in which the powers of the government flows from the citizens to the political leaders.
Oh, that's very good. Thank you. That's very good. Okay. Artillery. Mention one characteristics of capitalist democracy.
Sir, respect for fundamental human rights.
Okay. Respect for fundamental human rights. Daniela. Daniela, one characteristics of capitalist democracy.
Sir, periodic election.
Periodic election, very good. Aliu. Aliu. Favor Dambo. Favor. Favor.
Yes,
On your video. On your video. I want to see your face.
Yes, sir.
On your video.
Sir, yes, sir. I can hear you.
Mention one characteristics of capitalist democracy. Yes? Favor. Derek. Derek. Derek.
Majority rule.
Okay, majority rule. Derek, one characteristic. Okay. Number 3. I have another question. What are the advantages and disadvantages of capitalist democracy? Yes, Obina. Obina. Obina.
That's why they push more. She see from my back. She let me on my video.
Yes, Obina, what did you say? Aliu.
Sir.
I was calling you earlier. You didn't respond. Why?
Sir, it's network.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what is one advantage of capitalist democracy? Aliu.
Sir.
I'm listening.
Sir, they give the citizens their fundamental rights.
Okay. They allow fundamental human rights. Very good. Okay. And another one again.
What?
Omoye.
Why off your video? Now network.
Omoye.
Sir, please ask Igwisi.
Shut up.
Okay. Omoye, one advantage of capitalist democracy. Yes? I didn't hear you.
So,
Yes?
efficient allocation of resources.
Okay. Efficient allocation of resources.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Timothy. Timothy. Timothy.
Any guess, Timothy. Timothy no did this class.
Joshua.
Sir.
Igwisi.
Yes, sir.
Disadvantages of capitalist democracy. Yes.
Elenu.
Sir, it breeds selfish, greedy,
Okay.
and exploitative.
Very good. Very good. I'm clapping for you here. Very good. That's very good. All right. Fure, on your video. Fure. On your video. Okay. Dorothy, are you ready to tell me one disadvantage? One disadvantage. Don't shake your head. You can say something. Eh? All right. Okay, that's very good. It has been an interesting class, but I have an assignment for you. But I gave an assignment last week, and most of you did not do that assignment. Eh? Hello? Most of you didn't do that assignment. What is the reason, Ashilary?
I sent mine yesterday. I remember.
You did what?
I sent mine yesterday.
You sent it yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. Fure, why didn't you do the assignment? Yes? Fure?
Sir, I asked for it and nobody had it.
Why didn't you do the assignment?
Sir, I said that I was looking for the question and nobody had it.
You were looking for?
The question. I missed the question.
Were you not in the last class?
I was, but then the connection was bad, so I didn't stay till the end.
Oh, okay. All right. I will take that as what do I take it now? How do I take this one? Anyway, you have another assignment today, and I expect everyone to do this and send it to my email, please. Okay, that is the assignment. It says, list 5 methods of competing for power by political parties. List 5 methods of competing for power by political parties. 5 methods. 5 methods of competing for power by political parties. Ensure you do it this time and submit to this email you are seeing now. Submit to the email you are seeing now. Any question? Any question? Thank you very much. It has been a wonderful time. I hope I'll see your faces very soon. Take care of yourself and be good students.
Yes, sir.
All right. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Thank you.